Hello, hello, my CNC brothers and sisters. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and welcome to another Wednesday evening hangout where we get to chew the CNC fat. And our sister Kate is running a little bit late right now because she is coming back from some family stuff. But we've got a special guest on tonight who Greg Goedert, who has a lot of experience in deep inlays like cutting boards and epoxy. And so he's going to be sharing his knowledge with you on these subjects and other CNC subjects and what have you. So before we dive in and getting Greg on board, where you can ask your questions to him, let's cover some of the house rules real quick, just so we got this covered. First of all, please be kind. If we have rude comments that are uncalled for, then we are very quick to boot. IDC Woodcraft as a zero tolerance policy for not nice behavior. We're all a bunch of creators, and so that's that. And also, your questions. Put your questions in, please. Like, just for our sake, in the background, Julianne is taking care of things, and if you put question marks in front of your question, then she will know how to handle it. Now, on board right now are your two favorite people, which I'm going to bring out, is Liberty and Julianne. Well, Liberty is currently stepped away, so I don't know where she went to. Anyway, so we got Julianne here. Julianne and Liberty are in the background. Julianne is going to be making sure, Julianne and Liberty will make sure your questions are checked. And it's just going to be another fun night where we get to dive in, learn more CNC stuff, and how to not just run CNC machines, but how to make your creations look awesome. So Julianne, she's back there. She'll be chewing the fat with you and throwing your questions. And as you know the drill, whenever I say, Julianne, I need you to do this, Julianne, find that, you have to take a drink. So that's the new rule. Mark Lindsay created that one. And so anytime I call up Julianne or Liberty, you got to take a drink. So, okay. So first I want to say, give a couple shout outs for the number one who commented the minute we posted that we are going to have Greg on, which was yesterday. The winner is, drumroll, Doug E. So Doug is on board here. So Doug, congratulations. And today the winner is Oz. So let's say a few hellos as we wait for Sister Kate. And on board, we got Gary Lynn and Joe from South Carolina, Oz, of course, and Jack in the shop. Hey, what's going on, Jack? And these guys are like regulars on their show. Got to get them on this side of the screen side so that they can talk to you. Steve Bradley, what's going on, Steve? And Chris Gallagher. Yeah, it's kind of cool when you start to see these names, and I feel like I know you guys. Who got Brooks Martin, and who was it that gave the shout out to Michael? Liberty is here tonight. Mike was wondering where Liberty was because she hadn't been available in the last couple of weeks, and we have actually lost Liberty. She has dropped off for some reason. Maybe her internet went down or something like that. Billy McGee, what's up, Billy? And Mark Eldon. Yeah, who else we got? Got to scroll down the list here. Dion, hey, what's going on there, Dion? And who else? I said Gary. We got Sam Rammer from Parma, Ohio, Parma Heights, Ohio. So you're not too far away, brother. Who else we got? Roland from North Central Iowa. I love how this is just a worldwide thing. We regularly get a couple people from Australia and a few other places. Dennis, and run through here. Mike, Ernest. So David. So there's a lot of names popping on board. We've got a couple hundred people on board. Lyle, hey Lyle. And so what I'm going to do is, I think I've got everything covered. I just want to let you know that IDC Woodcraft is getting ready to release a set of calipers now. So right there. And those who are on the CNC Insiders list, the IDC Woodcraft email list, I'll be sending you an email shortly as you know, you get a discount on new releases for the first few days. So if you want or need a set of calipers, you don't have them yet, these are industrial grade calipers. Make sure you get on the CNC Insiders list. And here comes your first drink. Julianne, put a link in the comments for the Insiders if you want to get on that. Also, I think that's it. We're just going to get Greg on board. So, Greg, you ready? Give me a thumbs up there, brother. All right, here he comes. All right, so we got Greg from STL Woodworking. This guy does a YouTube channel and a lot of other things. And so, Greg, let's just start off with, I formally met you at the WBC, the Workbench Con, which was very, very cool. We got to chat quite a few times.
Yep.
And so from there on, we were, chewed the fat here and there. But so you got some skills. But let's introduce you to my side of the crowd. And who's Greg Goedert? And what got you into CNC? What do you do for a living? And let's take it from there.
Yeah. So those of you that don't know me, I am actually a full-time paramedic. Having said that, I don't work on the truck anymore. I'm actually over education for our paramedics now. I've been on the truck for many years. I got into CNC. I got into woodworking probably 8-9 years ago. And I actually got into CNC only about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it's funny because I swore when I first got into all of this, I would never use epoxy. So that'll give us a segue into that. But yeah,
you're an epoxy guy.
Yeah, now I love epoxy. So yeah, it's been great. I love CNC. It's a lot of fun. It's just adds so much to what you can do. So
how long you been a paramedic?
So God, been a paramedic for 10-12 years, been in public safety for 27 years, I think now. So
public safety versus paramedic. What
started as a firefighter and then went through the ranks, EMT, advanced, and then paramedic.
Yeah. That's one of the things I noticed in this. I was a firefighter and EMT for quite a long time myself. And there's so many people who've served in one way or another, law enforcement, fire, EMS, military. It's really cool to have that as one of the underlying themes in what we do.
Yep.
So you got into CNC. What drove you into CNC?
Really, I just wanted to see if I could. I bought a laser first and I wanted to see if I could fiddle around with laser, just engraving some things here and there. And then I got a little ill at the laser because it wouldn't do what I wanted it to do and cut. I didn't have a very strong laser. So there, I got into CNC and I bought my first machine. I bought, oh my goodness, it was the
Hey Greg, can I interrupt you for just a second because our sister Kate just got in, and so we'll bring her on board and let her say hellos. There she is.
Hey Kate.
Hey guys, how is everybody tonight?
Good. Doing awesome.
So you're back in your place?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. It's so nice to have you on. I didn't mean to interrupt, but please accept my apologies for my tardiness tonight. We had a little family event that got taken over a little bit, so
life happens.
Looks like you got your hair done.
I did. You always notice. Thank you so much. Yes, I actually did. I trying to get ready for summer. I thought maybe I could put a little good summer vibes out in the universe, so then that way all this rain and snow would just take a hike.
Gotcha.
There you go.
So
yeah. All right. Well, Greg was sharing his journey getting into CNC, so let's continue on, brother.
Oh yeah. So I think my first machine was the Carbide 3D Shapeco Pro, and then I probably didn't have it for about 5 months, and I needed some more. I needed some more room. I think it was a 17.5 by 33. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly, but I needed a little upgrade. So I wound up, they came up with the 5 Pro. So I wound up going with that with the VFD spindle. And then recently, I think I've told you, Garrett, I recently purchased Jay Bates's avid CNC 4x10 machine.
The minute I heard that, I was like, oh my God, I am feeling small now, brother.
Whew, I have not got it turned on yet, but I do have the power run out to my other shop. So hopefully this weekend I'm going to get it turned on.
Is that a 3-phase machine or is it?
So yes, it is a 3-phase machine. It's an 8.7 horsepower spindle. However, I don't have 3-phase here, so I'm going to have to run it off single phase. So I'm only going to get about 6.4 horsepower. I say about. That's still pretty impressive. So 6.4 horsepower out of the spindle. So it's going to be interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a little scared.
That's a lot of machine. That's a rack and pinion, right?
Yeah, it is. And it also, Jay had some upgrades obviously on the machine. So it also has the rotary axis as well. So, and the vertical table. So I've got a lot to learn with it.
Oh gosh, it's nice to move up as you move along.
It is.
Wow, a vertical table. I have seen those. I have seen them on like Tools Today, like on their clips and in their YouTube videos. And I'm just like, that would be so nice.
There's going to be a lot of stuff I'm able to do with it. And I love Jay. He's great. So all of his layouts and everything he has for the machine, he gave it to me. So I have all of everything set up. So it's just great. He saved me a ton of time. So I'm looking forward to playing with it.
Yeah. And our brother, Mark Lindsay, who's in the hanging out there, he got an Avid, as you know. So he's just sending you a little love, saying you're going to love that machine, brother.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I'm so glad that Mark's feeling better too. So I just want to say like a little interjection here. So in my trip to Ohio last week, I called Garrett because I was stuck with this enormous machine, this 4x10 machine that I was helping this gentleman get running and things like that. And then we actually brought Mark on board, and you guys were amazing to help me out because Greg, have you ever had those moments where you just like hit those roadblocks and you're like, I have tried everything in my arsenal. I have to reach out to someone that is smarter than me.
Yeah, pretty much every day.
So yeah. So, and your final report was it took you like 4 hours to get it because there were lots of things that were not tying together all the way through.
Yes. Yeah, there were a lot of little things that were adding up, but Mark was absolutely instrumental. He stuck with us. I know you had to pop off because you had some meetings to attend to. So, but I just want to say like big thank you to you and to Mark both for sticking with us as long as you could to get things moving. And oh my goodness, what a mess. But I just want to say thank you publicly to you both from the bottom of my heart, because I had heard that Mark was sick, so I didn't want to disturb him. But yeah, I mean, without y'all, without this community and just everybody helping one another, I feel like you kind of feel like you're a lone man on an island sometimes. And I feel like that's how a lot of new beginners feel. And so I'm just want to say, like, I'm so thankful that we do this and that we have awesome people like Greg and Mark and all of our other seasoned CNC'ers that pop in and out of here that provide all of that incredible information week after week. I mean, it really is so nice to just have somewhere like be able to put a face to a name and say, hey, I know you know how to do this. Can you help me get over this hurdle so I can stop riding the dang struggle bus 24/7? So yeah. I just wanted to kind of put that out there and say thank you.
That's why the community is so cool. And you, Kate, tell them what you were working on getting ready to carve.
Oh, so we were getting ready to carve a red quartz granite rock. And this thing was, I think we finally did the measurements. It was about a 36 inches wide by 38 inches tall and about 10 inches thick, with a somewhat of a level platform, but not 100%. So it was definitely tricky. We had different like bits that I had never worked with. Obviously, carving stone is not something that like, we do on the regular. So Mark said, I love this. He says, that wasn't a rock. That was a rock. It was ridiculous, y'all. It was absolutely ridiculous. I thought I was going to have a heart attack when he's like, well, this is what we're going to carve. And he's like bringing it in on the forklift. I was just like, oh, okay. All right. Well, we're going to give it hell. I mean,
you finally got to taste the big boy toys.
It was a big boy toy. I'm not going to lie. It was a big girl toy too for me.
Right.
So it came out really well. We learned a lot. We learned that, there's all these different like wood, but on a much more complex, there's a lot of layers to that quartz granite. And so we didn't want to carve quite as deep as we had originally thought. So there were a lot of different things that you learn. Kind of
How
like,
deep did you wind up carving it?
oh gosh, I want to say maybe like 3/10 inch or so. I mean, decent
nice.
amount, but not like, I mean, it's going to be painted and things like that with some black paint. So we're just trying to like find that right balance, because it wasn't like a really simple design. It was a really unique compass. And then it had pockets around, and then like a pocket, and then this north, south, east, west, north, south. Yeah, I was like, everything's backwards here. But anyway, we had pockets, we had V carves, we had all these funky little shapes. And then there was an anchor, a boat anchor in the middle with a rope twisted around it. So trying to get all that little detail, it was insane. But I'll have to post some pictures. He's supposed to send me some pictures later this week, and I'll be sure to post those for you guys to see there, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, love to see it.
Cool.
Definitely love to see it. For those of you who have joined, we have a guest, Greg Goedert from STL Woodworking. He's got a YouTube channel, which Julianne will post several times in the chat. So go check him out. He does deep inlays and woodwork and like cutting boards, and then also epoxy. So we've already got 11 questions out there. If you have a question, start your question with the word question, and then ask your question, and throw your questions to Greg, and let's talk about what you know, Greg, so that they can orient their questions to you and your specialties.
I think I know a little bit about a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know a lot about anything.
That's a really good answer. Really good answer.
That's super
what is
fair.
it, jack of all trades, master of none? Hey,
There
there's
it is.
Jeff. Jeff's here from Eye Candy. Hey, Jeff.
Oh, very nice. That's awesome.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
So tell them who Jeff is, where he's from.
Yeah, so Jeff is the owner of Eye Candy Pigments. They're one of my big channel supporters. I actually got named in February. I got named Maker of the Month for Eye Candy Pigments, which is great. I do exclusively use their pigments. They're awesome. Jeff's a super awesome guy. So I'm glad he's I mean, anytime you got the owner of a company taking the time out to come on the live you're on, so that's awesome support. So everybody say hey to Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
All right, well, let's dive in. I just got finished watching your flag video. All right, you did a flag with Jay, right?
No, I did a flag with Matt Outlaw, 731 Woodworks. We did a collaboration video, and I went out to Arkansas, where he lives, to his shop, and so that's a whole funny story how that kind of turned out. On my way out there is actually where the whole thing with Jay took place. I actually stopped by Jay's shop on my way to Matt's to talk to Jay about a few things. And then that's when I found out that he may be moving and he might have that CNC up for sale at some point. So that's where that conversation started. And then, so I drove on out to Matt's house, and it's so funny because our plan was to do the entire thing at his shop in Arkansas. And I was going to program everything for the inlays. We were going to kind of do a 2-part video. He was going to do more of the how-to on the building the cutting board side. I was going to focus more on the inlay side of the union and the stars. So he calls me like, I don't know, I'm literally leaving Jay's house, and he calls me, he's like, we need a plan B. my spindle went down.
Oh,
Yeah, so Matt is an affiliate with Carbide 3D, so he had one of the very first spindles sent out by them, and they had a problem with the board, and it happened right as I was on my way out there. So anyway, his CNC went down, so we couldn't do that part out there. So it's funny because part of the video was recorded there at his place, part of it was recorded at my shop, because I had to bring the board back to my shop to actually finally finish the video with the inlay. So Murphy showed up, everything happened. So, but we got it done. It was great. We raised, I think in the end, close to, I don't know how the exact number. I can tell you the board sold for $1,001 in the last 1 minute of the auction for the board for St. Jude. One of my actual YouTube channel members purchased that for $1,001. And then I think we had made an additional $300 or $400 or $500 on direct donations. So what was your total donation? Somewhere around $1,500 for that one video and that one project for St. Jude. It was great.
That's awesome.
That's cool. That's like I was saying before, IDC Woodcraft donates part of its revenues to St. Jude, because I had a niece who had cancer at 6 years old, brain cancer, and so they saved her. Now she's 21 years old and doing fine. Little compromise, but she's doing fine because they had to take some of her brain out.
Yeah, they're great. I love St. Jude. So we're going to do that every year. For those of y'all that want to follow my channel, me and Matt are going to do a build every single year and donate to St. Jude. That's our plan.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
jump on his channel and subscribe to his channel. Anyway, let's dive in a little bit. Let's talk about what deep inlays. Let's kind of touch on that one. We'll start tackling some questions. We've got about 12 of them sitting out there, and then let's get into some epoxy and how you're blending all this together.
Sure. So I like doing deep inlays because a lot of the inlays I do are on outside of epoxy or on cutting boards. And a lot of people don't realize whenever you do an inlay, if you do your traditional, and you can, don't get me wrong, you can absolutely do your traditional V-bits on inlays and it will turn out looking fine. But when you're looking at something like a cutting board or something that's going to be resurfaced over some time, years or whatever, the angle that you're going down on a V-bit is pretty sharp compared to a tapered bit. So you're going to wind up losing part of that, whatever it is you have inlaid over time. So I do deep inlays and use a tapered ball nose there. That way my angle is much, much, much steeper. So you can surface it a lot more before you see any noticeable thing. So
you use a 5 degree, don't you?
I use anywhere from a 5 to a 6 degree, 6.2 ish. Yeah. But usually a 5 degree.
That's a half angle, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It works. It takes a little time, but it works. It makes you get a lot of glue surface area.
Right. So define the difference between a deep inlay and a non-deep inlay. How do you define the difference? So
I would say, as far as measurements go, like for me, anything a 1/4 inch or less is kind of like a shallow inlay. Like when I do mine, it's so funny because yes, I am in Georgia, so I am so imperial. But when I do my inlays, I actually, and I have a video over this talking about how I do my deep inlays. I actually convert everything to metric, and I use metric measurements when I'm doing my inlays. But I do like an 8 millimeter inlay, so it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep. So
8 millimeters, just shy of 3/4 of an inch. Sorry, 3/8 of an inch.
3/8 of an inch. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That is pretty deep.
It is. But it gives you a ton of glue surface area when you glue it in. So it holds really, really well and is a really tight fit. So it works. Good results.
Why metric? Why do you use metric when you're doing your inlay?
So full disclosure, I hate math. And it's a lot easier.
I have to be honest. I have no idea who decided to come up with the imperial system because it is so screwed up compared to metric. Metric is so easy.
Yes. So,
Once you get the hang of it.
yeah, it's funny because I was a diehard Imperial person until I started getting some green tools in my shop. And then I had no choice but to convert some of that stuff over to metric using the Festool brand.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized doing that, hey, it's pretty dang accurate. So, yeah. So I use a metric a lot now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about epoxy? I mean, because there's a ton of questions already sitting out here. So we'll talk a little bit about epoxy and then we'll dive into it. And Kate would be the one to really be talking to you about that because I haven't really done epoxy yet. So as a matter of fact, I got this very interesting project that I want to do an epoxy for. And so I told Kate, Kate, I'm going to need your help on this one.
Yeah. Anything you need, I'm here. I love epoxy. It's great. Like I said in the beginning, Kate missed it. She missed my whole disclaimer. I used to not think I would ever do epoxy. I didn't want to even fool with it, and now I use it all the time. So I love epoxy. It's got so many things you can do with it. It's just so versatile. But yeah, so I love doing inlays with epoxy. I love doing multicolored inlays. So now, keep in mind when you do that, you're going to take a lot of time because you're either going to have to move it and have to come back to exactly where you're at. So you need a good indexing system on your machine, whatever that may be. Or you're going to have to tie up your machine and just leave it sitting and let it cure where it's sitting. So,
yeah, I'd wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said.
What do you tend to do? Do you tend to, Kate, question for you too. When you guys are doing multicolor pours, do you take it off the machine, put it back on the machine, back off, back on?
No, not really. I mean, there's been a couple of times I've had to pull it off. But like I've talked about before, I did the same thing, what Greg's talking about, the indexing system. So I just have pins all around the project and I actually pre-drill the project with just like a drill bit all the way down. And then I have like these little dowels. I buy them at Walmart. You can buy them in different lengths. And then I just have those. When I drill it into the board, I drill it straight into my spoil board. And then I just have those little pins and I just pop them in there. So if I have to pop it up, the pins are in, they're not going anywhere. And then I put it right back into those pins. And I know a lot of people are probably having a heart attack because I drill into my spoil board. But y'all listen, do not give two hoots about that dang spoil board. It is there for a purpose. And when I'm done with it, I will rip it off there. I'll throw it away and I will put a new one on and I will destroy that son of a gun too. But I know a lot of people get all up in arms about the spoil board. So
that's pretty much exactly what I do. I probably actually pull mine off more times than I don't because I usually have, now that I got another CNC, it's going to be a little less, but I'm usually stay pretty busy. So I don't have time usually to tie up my CNC to leave it. So I usually pull it off and I use pins too. I actually use drill bits.
Oh, that's a good idea.
As my pins. Maybe broken drill bits. I don't know. Yeah. And they have a purpose.
I use router bits. I got a couple extra.
Yeah, that's what I mean. My broken router bits. I'll use those for my pins and I'll line it back up and it works fine.
Yeah, I just really don't. I know this is going to sound terrible. When I pull it off, if it's somewhat dry, like when it's really fluid, I'm working on trying to revamp my shop. I was actually talking to my husband about it tonight. And I said, I need somewhere like completely level because I'm always like moving tables around. Like this is going to sound terrible, but like back here, this is one of my little epoxy tables. And then like over yonder, you can see like all my epoxy crap is out over there. And so I just have like crap everywhere as far as like epoxy stuff that's concerned. And so I'm just like, I need like a dedicated area because right here behind me, I have one of those like side-by-side units for my heat and my cool. And so I don't like the fact that like you need the shop to be warm for the epoxy to cure, but I also don't like the fact that it's blowing like straight down over my shop. So I just got I've got some things I need to tinker with. And then I feel like I would be more comfortable because there's nothing like 100% level in my shop, I feel like.
Well, I keep my I ensure that my I got a whole different place where I put stuff in another room that's level, but I make sure that I always keep my spool board and everything absolutely level. That way, if I do have to leave it, I can leave it on that. But I keep a table in the house, in the living room.
Well, I mean, my spoil board is 100% level. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can pour it on there, and like, unless it like starts to like firm up and get tacky, I really don't want to move it, just because when I do my inlays, I try to get as much. I don't do a lot of overflow and then surface off, overflow and then surface off. I just feel like that kind of is a lot of extra. So I just try to be as neat as I can when pouring my epoxy into my inlays. And then that way I don't have a ton of that. But
so what I do is kind of
off and then like moving it and putting it on a table that's not 100% level, because then it like shifts things, and I don't know.
I'll tell you what I do, and this might help you. So I purposely do that. So if I'm going to leave it on, I purposely overflow it, and I don't change anything because the little bit that it is over the surface is not that big a deal. So that way I just continuously carve over and over into the overflow. And in the end, I don't care because I'm backfilling what I just carved. So in the end, once I'm done with everything, I do a flattening pass, and it just completely exposes everything, and it's great, and you don't have to fool with any of that.
Okay.
So when you said you keep your spoil board level, are you talking technically level with a level, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I make sure my spool board and my table that my CNC sits on, I make sure everything is perfectly level. That way, when I do have to pour epoxy, I know that it's level and I don't have to worry about it.
Okay, y'all, you're gonna laugh at me. Don't laugh too hard. Don't laugh too hard. Okay. Well, I don't know if you can see it. I'm gonna move my computer for 2 shakes. Do you see? Can you see real small right under there, right there? You see that? That, you know what those are? Those are called some popsicle sticks.
You got it leveled up.
Those are some popsicle sticks right there, y'all.
Popsicle sticks are great.
Don't play with the levelness. I mean,
they are more than just epoxy stirs.
There you go.
I always have to chuckle and giggle about that kind of
stuff. Like duct tape, right?
Exactly like duct tape.
Or 100-mile-an-hour tape if you're a hillbilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start knocking out some questions. Let's start knocking out some questions and see what we got going on here.
All right. Let's do it. All right. So Mr. Gary Foster says, how does the shaper origin fit into CNC woodworking?
Greg, have you ever used a shaper?
Personally, no. I have some YouTube friends that do. They like it, especially in a shop that they don't have the space to dedicate to a CNC. They say that it works very well. I have no personal experience, but the ones I do know who have messed with it says it's a good tool.
Okay. Yeah. In the context of this question, it's not a CNC machine per se. I guess to some degree it is, but in the context of what we are talking, it's a different animal altogether. So I kind of feel like
it's another tool for the shop. I mean, it's like it's basically like a big motorized router that reads.
It's a handheld CNC, I guess, sort of.
Oh, I thought the shaper was that thing that like you can do, and it like has points, like connection points, and then
it has a grid that you lay out, the little dominoes that you lay out where it knows where its position is in the world, and you basically run it manually, and it's got a little a thing in there that kind of moves on its own to keep the exact. Even if you're off, I forget what the tolerance is, so don't quote me. But even if you are off a quarter inch, an eighth of an inch, or whatever, it adjusts for that itself, so the line, whatever you're doing, stays perfect.
Yeah. So it's a very smart router.
Exactly.
Yes.
Very smart router.
Yeah. I kind of feel like it's just another tool for the shop. I mean, if it helps you and it's beneficial to you and you feel like it's going to be you, I mean, do you. Always do you.
Yeah.
If that's, everybody's
Yeah.
got what works for them, and don't let somebody just say it's not woodworking and then keep doing you. I mean, don't let them rain on your parade.
Yeah.
No.
Good point, Kate. Excellent point. I will. I'm sure that's going to be at the IWF. So I will definitely go check it out, because I do get that question from time to time. We all do. So, all right.
Yeah. All right. So Mr. Brooks Martin, hi friend. He says, hey guys and gals, what do you think of the DeWalt DW779 miter saw?
Well, DeWalt's a good tool all the way around, but I don't have it.
I have a Festool Capex, so I have no answer for that one.
I have a big DeWalt miter saw. I can't confirm the make and model, but I have that one, and I just got this. I don't know if y'all can see it. This Milwaukee one. I don't know. I'm like, here, hold up. This Milwaukee one here. I really like it. I've got a stand for the what do you want to call it? I've got a big stand for the DeWalt one, you know, that like you can rock it up and down. So I like that, but I haven't gotten one for the Milwaukee one. But I really like that thing for framing and for small jobs, because I wanted something just like that. I didn't have to roll in my shop, put down the thing that takes up a ton of room. I could just bring that thing in. It's battery powered. One less outlet I have to worry about blowing a circuit on. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying.
All right. If anybody's got that DeWalt miter saw, just put it in the comment section. So,
yeah.
All right, Doug, brother, that was a question for me. Does the long mill dust shoe work with the spindle? No. Nope. You need to get another dust shoe. You can get one from PWN. I should get that that link for you. I don't have it offhand. They have several. So what he's referring to is, like on my long mill here, I have, if I can get my camera oriented right. So I've upgraded to a spindle from the Makita, which that's a water cooled spindle, and the dust shoe that comes with it that comes with the long mill does not work for that. It's designed to fit on the long mill with the Makita in mind. So you'll have to get a different one. I suggest to get it from PWN. If we get a moment here, I'll ask or go on their site and check that out, see if I can find it. But when it comes to long mill, for those who don't know, long mill has now released pre-orders for the alt mill, which is a 4x4 ball screw machine, and you can get a spindle with it. And I've seen it on video, its operation. I'm going to put a video out here in a couple of days about it, but I ordered one already. It's on pre-order, so they're not going to come out until like July. But if you're considering upgrading to something like that, then you may want to jump on it, because their orders are racking up pretty quickly. And Julianne will throw a link in the description for you. Nope, take a drink, Julianne. I'm asking her to do something. But yeah, I'm excited. So I got a 4x4 machine coming. So I think now I'm at the point where I'm going to have one too many CNC routers. Either I'm going to have to start making stuff or get rid of something. Actually, well, for the sake of Liberty, she'll like the idea I've been thinking about. Is she's already nodding her head back there. This one would probably turn to Liberty's cutting machine. Liberty is learning the VECTRIC software, so that she can help people who call up when they're asking about bits. We get random calls that way. And she wants to get into that. So
fantastic. I love that she's doing it.
Yeah.
Garrett, I just got the spindle too. I feel a little bad because I haven't actually got a chance to put it on yet. But I got the PWN 80 millimeter.
That's the one I got. You got the water cooled?
I do. Yeah. Yep. Sure do.
All right. So for those of you, PWN is a plug and play spindle kit. Very nice kit. You can get air cooled or water cooled. You can get a 65 millimeter or 80 millimeter. And the benefit of that for me is the noise. I wear these things in my ears. And so I am very sensitive to noise and protective over my ears. And it is so much quieter. I can sit there and talk to people when the machine is running. Now, it does make some noise, but it was a godsend. It cuts so much better, too.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So you had a trim router on your machine?
No, I had the VFD from Carbide.
Oh, that's right.
The 65 millimeter.
Okay, and you got the 80.
Yep,
Okay.
I got the 80.
Yeah. Going from a trim router to the spindles, it's insanely different.
Oh, I bet.
Insanely different. Julianne, throw the PWN's code in there. If you've got a long millwright, Onefinity, Shapeoko, CNC for newbies, and a few others, X-Carve, then they've got plug and play kits for you. And what that means is the spindle is ready to go. All you literally have to do is plug it in. Now you're gonna have to do some setup to get it on your machine. That's gonna take a little more time. But the plug and play part, for me, who's not technical and doesn't want to deal with that, I'm a mechanical guy. It's like, oh, this was such a breeze. So yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah.
So when are you gonna get your spindle installed?
So it's on that shelf sitting over there.
Okay.
Probably once I get the Avid up and going. I don't want to be down completely because I believe in Murphy's Law. It happens. So if I take my 4x4 down to put that on, something will happen. So I want to get the Avid up and running before I swap the spindle.
Gotcha. Yeah, you'll need a dwell command though. You'll need about a 4-second dwell for it to ramp up to speed.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Greg, are you ready to answer some more questions? Because we have quite a few racking up over here, and I want to make sure we're paying attention to our fellow friends that are asking us questions, so we can be respectful of.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. I'm ready.
All right. Let's knock some questions out. So we have Mr. Norman. Can epoxy be used as a non-glare finish?
Yeah, probably not. You can do some things after the fact to maybe, I guess, dull the sheen.
It down?
Yeah, maybe, but no. If you're going to do epoxy flood coat or something like that, you need to be prepared. You're going to get a nice clear finish, and it's going to be a glare finish. Even if you put a ceramic coating, which I do on all of my projects, it's not going to knock the sheen down. It's going to be a very, very sheen finish. Now, having said that, if you're not doing a flood coat and you're doing just epoxy and then sanding and then doing a finish on top of it, yes, you can do that. So like a Rubio monocoat, something like that, any of those oil-based finishes, they're going to give you a more of a not necessarily a matte, but closer to a matte finish over top of the epoxy. So yeah.
I was trying to think. Let me grab the one product I use too. I was actually just using it today. So I use this right here. This and I buy this just at Lowe's. But this Waco is the butcher block. It's really good for like if you want to put it over, like Greg was just saying, like the wood and the epoxy. Like it's very penetrating, but it's also really good for the epoxy because it's just kind of buffs up and kind of looks nice. So, but you don't want to go nuts with it on the epoxy because it is an oil and it will just kind of be everywhere. So
yep.
Just have to be mindful, like all things with epoxy. All right. So up next we have Mr. Chris. Hey, Chris. Greg, what is the smallest and largest epoxy jobs you have done?
So smallest probably being your typical charcuterie board type thing. I don't really do any of your casting stuff that people do. A lot of people cast jewelry and stuff like that, and that's really cool. I don't do anything typically that small. It's just not my thing. But yeah, typically a charcuterie board or something like that's my smallest. Well, I take that back. Actually, so that's a whole nother thing. So I keep these molds sitting around when I do epoxy pours because I don't like to waste epoxy. So I have these random molds that I just keep sitting around. So any excess epoxy I have goes into those molds. And those are things I take to craft shows and sell. Like I have a bunch of skulls. So I'll just randomly put epoxy into the skull molds until they're full. And then, so they're random colors sometimes. Sometimes they're solid, sometimes just random colors. Yeah. So I put those into that. So,
that you're going to laugh. I think you and I could have a really fun conversation sometime. I did the same thing. So in all of my items that I mail out, I ship out to customers, I have little like sunflower keychains.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I put a little keychain. It's kind of my way of saying thank you. It goes in my little like goodie bag with all the stuff. And when I have leftover epoxy, whatever color it is, it gets sunflower.
Yeah, it's great. It works.
Green, purple, blue, yellow. It's whatever works.
So my largest one probably is going to be a table. That's about the biggest that I do currently. I haven't until recently started filming my table builds. Quite frankly, it's been done a lot and I just never really thought about it. Plus it takes me twice the amount of time if I'm doing a YouTube video to do a table. But I have recently started filming some. So actually I have one that I'm almost done with. It's going to be coming out, I hope this week, that I did. It's an epoxy table. So yeah, my tables are probably my bigger ones that I do.
Very cool. Very cool.
Okay. I got a link for that vacuum for the long mill, for those who have the spindle on the long mill. I did find the site. It's going to be a long link. I'm going to put it in here now, so it'll probably take up a whole bunch of space. We'll see.
Okay.
This is the one from PWN. Oh, put the wrong one in. Didn't finish the link, so hang on a second.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I was putting there's an affiliate attachment to it, so that's why that just popped in.
Gotcha.
So, okay, we're ready.
All right. So our next question is from Mark. What is the best air temperature to work with epoxy?
So this is going to sound like a just a generic answer, but it is because it completely depends upon your epoxy. Every epoxy has their own, and my go-to answer is to look at your label on your epoxy that you're using. Because every epoxy is going to have a optimal temperature that it needs to cure at. So that's going to be your absolute answer. Look at your label and do whatever your epoxy says to do. Because every one of them is different.
Yep. That's a really good.
What's the brand that you like to work with?
So again, full disclosure, Super Clear is one of my channel contributors. So I use exclusively Super Clear epoxy.
Okay.
That's liquid. What I use too.
Oh, awesome. So, and I think Alan may be in here. He was going to come in tonight, but I don't know if he's here yet. But yeah, I use Super Clear. So if I'm doing a deep pour, I obviously use their liquid glass. You can pour. I have personally poured their epoxy up to one pour up to 3 1/4 inches with 0 issues. I use their tabletop epoxy for my smaller projects, and then I do occasionally use the art resin on certain projects as well. I use a lot of epoxy.
Okay. Okay. Super Clear, and then on board is Jeff, right, with Eye Candy Pigment. So yeah. What is the difference between these two?
So Eye Candy is Eye Candy does sell Super Clear epoxy. They are a dealer for Super Clear, but Eye Candy is the pigments. So if you want to color in your pigments, Eye Candy also sells epoxy molds. He's got several molds on his site that you can choose from if you're looking for charcuterie board or something like that, or just your regular dimensional molds. He has those. But yeah, they are mainly dedicated towards your pigments. They have your regular pigments, and they have a gel pigments that's kind of like epoxy gel base.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's great. Super. If you want something opaque, that is super awesome. I use those all the time. Yeah, but if you want your regular pigments, they have those as well. So,
well, you gave me a link to Super Clear and
I think I gave you one to Super Clear and Eye Candy.
Yeah, I'm going to throw Super Clear in here, and I believe you have a discount code for them.
So I have the discount code for Eye Candy. Super Clear is there, and the Eye Candy one, I have a discount code. If you go to their website and use STL Woodworking, you'll get 10% off of your entire order. So,
okay. I'll throw. So I threw the one for Super Clear, and so I'm going to throw Eye Candy in as well. So no drinks, Mark. I'm the one that's doing this, not Julianne.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
He's going to be hyped up on coffee because Mark doesn't drink, so he's going to be over there. He's going to be spinning his wheels tonight. And
just here, Mark. Here's to you.
There you go. Cheers.
Yes. Oh my goodness. All right, but I love Super Clear. It's always my go-to. I love it.
They're great.
Yeah. All right. So let's see here. We have a question from Lee Stanley. It's a little more CNC related. Will a 1/16 inch diameter CNC router bit designed for foam cutting work on wood? Looking for a 1/16 diameter bit with a 3/4 inch flute length.
Ooh.
That's going to be hard to find.
It is
a long bit for the 1/16. They're normally like.
So you may have a better answer than me, Garrett. But so any bit that's designed for a router like that, it should work on wood as well, unless it's a specific bit for like plastic or an O flute or something like that.
Yeah,
it should still work on wood just fine.
Yeah, if it's a standard end mill up cut or down cut, it's going to work with it. You're being your 2 flute spiral end mill. Yep. I will tell you on the 3/4 inch length bit. So when I was first I had my tooling company design my 16ths. I wrote down the length that I want, and they misread it and sent me 1/2 inch diameter or a 1/2 inch length before it tapered up to 1/8 inch. I'm like, crap. How? So I sold 2 of them together. There's nothing else I could do because they're gonna that size of bit. You're gonna break them. You're just gonna break it. You're gonna break it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
that's a really long. Oof. I don't even know.
The diameter, the diameter or the diameter over the length. It's such a high ratio. The bit just doesn't have the strength to hold up over that length. It's going to chatter all over the place. It's just going to be a nightmare.
Oh my God, you'd have to run it so slow. I wouldn't even know how slow you'd have to run it. But I did have a thought because I was thinking a 30-degree V-bit might work, but what if you were to do like a 15-degree V-bit, because they have like the really long needle nose. They're almost smaller than like a tapered ball nose because they're so dinky pencil thin. I don't know, maybe a 15-degree V-bit might work if you need something longer to cut instead of a 1/16. I don't know. I mean, that's
Greg, if you didn't know, I guarantee all the IDC products. Anything that's branded IDC gets a 90-day guarantee. Right? The calipers that are coming out, all the router bits. I would be replacing every single 1/16 router bit multiple times in that guarantee window if I had that length of bit.
Yeah, that would be tough. But I would say maybe look for even just a really super skinny tapered ball nose. Like that might be a better, I don't know, friend. Maybe if you can work with shallower material, that might be the best bet. I don't know.
I was trying to answer that one there in chat about the code, and for some reason it's not letting me post in the chat for some reason.
Oh.
But the code was for the Eye Candy website, STL Woodworking. I don't have a code for the Super Clear. You can also buy the Super Clear through Eye Candy's website as well.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Good to know. Good to know.
All right.
Okay.
24 questions on the queue. All right, let's just do a mid break here, just to kind of. This is our Wednesday night CNC hangout with Kate and I run this where for 8 p.m. Eastern time every Wednesday. We chew the CNC fat, bring on special guests who are experts in their field, like Greg, and to try to share the wealth. And so next week there will not be a guest. We will take a break. It'll just be me and Kate, so you guys can ask your general questions. And after that, the week after, we do have another guest coming on board. Yeah. And make sure that you take a minute to check out Greg's channel. It's time to drink. Julianne put a link in the comment for his channel. And just click on it, subscribe to his channel, give him support. He puts out a lot of work to create the content that he does. And he actually does really good, interesting work. I've not seen a lot of deep inlays, but he walks you through the whole process, the design process of doing it. And then he runs you through the machining of it, and all the way through how he's run it in his planers and whatever he's got to do to make sure you understand how to work through these things. Yeah. And subscribe to IDC, and also Women Who CNC, Kate's channel. Kate, why don't you share about Women Who CNC?
Yeah, so Women Who CNC, like Garrett said, we do have a YouTube channel where I try to put out a video. I am not near as good as either Garrett or Greg by any means about putting out content, but I am trying. It's a lot. Let's just say that. So anyway, Women Who CNC has a really fantastic Facebook group. It's growing every day. There are tons and tons of questions coming in, brand new CNC'ers, intermediate, and then there are, of course, lots of seasoned experts in the group that are constantly answering questions and welcoming you. So it's a really great space for women only. I'm sorry, gentlemen, but it is for women only. And it's just sometimes women speak a little bit of we speak a different language, as we've learned from long time. So it's just how we say things, or I don't know. Sometimes it's just nice to say, what's this thingamabob over here? Or what's that? And that's not to discount women and that we, can't speak the technical terms. But
let's just be frank. Sometimes there are butthead men out there that don't like the idea of women being in a shop. I think it's an amazing thing when I see women doing this stuff.
Kate, I still say thingamabob, just so you know.
Thingamabob. There you go.
It's my jam. I love a good thingamabob. I don't know what you want me to say. So that whatchamacallit. So yes, thank you, Garrett, for pointing that out. That is really, honestly, 100% the reason that I started this CNC group for women. Is I had asked some general questions just in a couple of groups that I was in, and I wasn't thinking I'm a woman and they're a man, and it's going to be a situation. It wasn't that at all. It was just it made me feel really small and belittled, and I didn't like that. And I thought, I can't be the only woman out there that isn't asking questions because she's afraid of some butthead just being ridiculous. Just, I probably say 97% of the people in those groups are very helpful, very courteous. They don't care if you're a man or woman. They're just there doing their jam. They're there to help you out, whatever you need. They're good people. But those handful of peoples, I did not want women to turn away from CNC because of that small percentage of buttheads out there. Because unfortunately, sometimes when you make a post, there's lots of, you just get the buttheads. They like magnets. They're just looking for somebody to pick on. And then you just get that. And then you're just like, screw this. I'm out of these groups. I'm not doing it. So
they troll around everywhere. I'm in a bunch of groups and I try to help out. And it's like so frustrating. You want to be able to boot them out of every single group where they're just there to troll. That's it.
Yeah, they're trolls. Yeah. We've booted a couple people out of this live and off our channels because of that.
Yeah.
So as a YouTube creator, we all have the power to make our channel disappear from anyone that doesn't behave.
Yes.
In our channel. Which is so nice. So nice. All right. And
Yeah,
just
I, do.
remind,
I love the support, and I love the camaraderie and the bantering and the teasing and all the good stuff. You know,
and
but I just
just
want women to have a good, safe space to do their jam and
yeah.
to ask what they want to ask without fear of that being.
So find the Women Who CNC group, Julianne. I think she already put a thing in the comments. If you're a female and you want to get into a women's group, there it is, and sign up to her Facebook group. Yep, and just a reminder, for those the calipers are going to be coming out very shortly, and they're going to be a golden ticket calipers. So we're going to have for those who get the golden ticket on the calipers. I've got several hundred.
Wow.
A nice little shopping spree and a couple other things that I just told the girls, Liberty and Juliana, says, you guys figure it out. Whatever they get. They were trying to give away some of my time. I said, okay, maybe I'll give away a couple hours to one person. I only got so much time right now.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we can put in some, even if it's if it happens to be a woman, maybe I could throw in some Women Who CNC swag, or maybe I throw in a one-on-one session, or
you just gave me an idea. I'll just get everybody swag. Greg, you got some swag, don't you?
I'm sure I could come up with something.
Yeah, there you go. All right, yeah. All right, subscribe to the channel.
We do have a website too, so check that out, womenwhocnc.com.
Yeah, Greg's got a website as well. Though you said you're moving a little bit away from the e-com space at the moment.
I'm doing a lot of changing, so you're not going to find a whole lot there at the time. So right now, the best place to find me is on YouTube, mainly YouTube. I do have Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all that, but I'm all in on YouTube currently. So look for that. I do have a channel membership where you can join my channel. I do some behind the scenes stuff, stuff like that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that's where I live right now.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I do have a question for you. So do you have like someone that helps you with your content?
No. Me.
You.
it's just me.
That's the way it starts.
Yeah, so I have a group that I have that I do pitch stuff to before I do stuff. But as far as just the doing it and all that, yeah, that's just me filming and everything and doing the editing. I have reached out recently to an editor because that is I love editing. It's fun to learn, but it's also very time consuming. So I have reached out to an editor to maybe take
for those of you brothers and sisters who's watching this and you don't create YouTube content, just so you know, for people on our end, me, Kate, Greg, and the other people you watch, there is a ton of time that goes into probably about 5% of what you see, or the time it would take to do that, like whatever carving or his flag that he did in that video. You can figure about 90 to 95% of the time was spent creating that video, editing, moving the camera around, setting the lights up, making sure your microphone's turned on, having mic fails and having to reshoot stuff. There's a lot of investment in that. So make sure you take some time to give the channels a thumbs up as well.
It takes me about 2 times, almost literally to the minute, almost 2 times to complete a project if I'm also doing it for content.
Yep, and that's the other thing. We rehearse our projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
I write scripts. I never thought I'd be a writer, but yeah, I actually, full disclosure, I got there's a notebook right here where is my script for the video that I'm just now finishing up.
Yeah, it is. So do you do, I haven't.
That's my next video coming out.
Exactly. It takes time.
Oh my word. I know. I feel like I have not gotten to watch a lot of your videos, but do you do a lot more voiceover or do you do a lot more?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. A voiceover, I like it better. It's so far my audience seems to like it better.
Okay.
But I also include, I don't do 100% voiceover. All the time. Some of my content does have me talking. It really depends on what the content is, but most of it, yes, I would say is probably voiceover.
Well, I can tell you, once you get a video person, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, that would be great
because you're not busy moving that stuff around. You're just more in the natural flow. Except last week for me, I was doing a video and everything. Murphy was having a field day with me. So I just created a video that's coming out tomorrow. I effed up this CNC project, and I'm going to talk about all the mistakes that I made and why I made them, and what I was doing wrong. And it all came down to the checklist. I was not following the checklist. All right. This is a CNC setup checklist. Everything in your CNC, the most important thing is the setup of the project.
Oh, Lord,
Murphy shows up a lot.
I feel like when the camera goes on, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, that's the on switch for Murphy. When you turn the camera on, Murphy's around the corner and says, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
It's like that mayhem from Allstate or whatever. I feel like he's constantly lurking around the corner. If I'm like, so we're going to do this, and here's how the project lays out, and then you do this, and you're going to raise your Z, and then the Z doesn't raise, or you crash your bed into something. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I'm just like, I have to get this project done. I have to get this project done. Okay, so no video. I cannot tell you the hours and videos I could. Oh my word, I would have so much content on my channel if I actually just posted the stuff that I shoot. But I feel like I'm like, because I feel like I'm such a squirrel. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just the only person. I feel like I'm the only person sometimes like this. I'll be shooting video for this, like something on the CNC, and then I'll be shooting something on the epoxy thing. And then I'll go to put it all together. And then I'm like, there's 82 videos of me doing epoxy, and there's 20 videos of me doing the CNC, and I can't figure out which damn order they go in because they're all like 2-3 minutes. And you're like, which ones do I upload and which one's in the right orientation? Because sometimes you forget that you're in the wrong orientation. Folders,
Kate. Folders.
Yeah, we could talk about this one all night for sure. Jim said he wants to see raw videos from now on. Jim, if you saw those raw videos, YouTube would probably ban us, censor us with all the not so pleasant words that seem to fly out of the mouth sometimes.
Yeah, that happens.
But I got my video tomorrow is a blooper video pretty much. But
okay, so listen, I have a really quick and dirty story. So I was literally shooting the content on my brand new, you guys know I have that big 4x8 table with the big router sled and the track saw table and all that good stuff, right? I was literally shooting the content for that. And my husband came out to the shop, and my husband is a mechanical engineering, can fix, do anything, whiz. Okay. Anything, you name it. He comes out and he's talking on his cell phone for work, and he grabs my router, and it was on, and he pulls it to the side, and he literally gets it caught. The hose gets caught underneath this like 2-inch surfacing bit. It pulls the hose, it twines it around the router, it flips the wood up, and I was just like,
you got that big ass surfacing bit too.
Yeah, it's literally like 2 inches, and it has inserts. It chipped every insert. I had to get all new hose. I had to pull the router apart because that wire for the dust collection, it's got that wire inside of it, so it's twisted and mangled around the router. And $385 router, $200 bit, $50 insert bits. All because he decided to go like this and play with.
You ever want to see a woman cuss like a sailor? Just post that video, Kate.
I thought I was going to kill somebody.
Yeah. All right, we're buried with questions, and so we need to get back to these. We are past 9 o'clock, so no more questions are being queued. So let's start hammering these things out.
All right.
I just wanted to say, if you want the checklist that's available, Julianne will put a link in the comment section. Take a drink.
All right. So quick and dirty question from Kevin. He says, does IDC have a physical store?
You can come here. It's not like a physical store, no, but I do have a physical address. If you come into the building, it's a framing shop. They will come and get me. And I will bring you back. You'll meet the girls doing their stuff, and then you'll get a whole thing of swag, and you get to chill with us, and maybe we'll break out some beer at the same time. Just because you're there.
All right. Well, here is a question from Mr. Brooks Martin. He says, hey, Greg, have started messing around with bleeding epoxy colors. So would you want to touch on that subject? I don't really see a question in there, but maybe he's saying he did it. And do you have any advice maybe?
And you can clarify if you want to in the chat. I'll kind of glance down, but I'm assuming you're meaning you've started messing with epoxy and you're having bleeding color problems with colored epoxy. If that's the case, that is a super simple fix, shellac. I keep spray cans of shellac constantly. All you have to do is spray shellac on the area you're going to carve and pour epoxy. You'll have zero issues with bleeding colors.
That's you're spraying it on after you carve, right?
No, you spray it on before you carve. That way
Okay.
the carve will penetrate or get rid of that area. So then when you pour the epoxy into the area that's carved, that's the only place the epoxy is going to go. It's not going to bleed out into the fibers of the wood on the sides of the carve.
Okay.
Two color fills. Have you started blending two color fills? Is that what that was? Are you talking about like blending just two colors together when you're doing epoxy? If so, yes. Yeah. A lot of times if you've blending between. Okay. Yeah. So if you're doing, you can do that really anytime, but a lot of times people do it, the traditional ocean scenes and stuff like that. That's one time you do a lot of blending of like a deep ocean blue, a deep ocean green. You can actually pour them side by side and then actually swirl them together to give you that effect that looks like the water, the ocean water. I think that's what he's asking.
Okay. I got to answer a question real quick to Ernie. Ernie, so he didn't get the checklist. He signed up to get the checklist. Ernie, just email me, Garrett at idcwoodcraft.com. We'll send you a copy.
There you go. All right. So let's see. I was going to make a quick addition to what you were saying. So I did have a question. When you spray the shellac, do you have like cardboard or something up around your CNC so that doesn't get like on your?
No, I mean, you could, if you've got a small project, you're worried about overspray. Yeah, sure. Throw some cardboard up, but just if you're doing like a general small area on what you're doing, you can just spray that general area because you're not really worried about the shellac on the wood you're carving because you're going to be sanding it anyway. So you're going to sand that shellac away once you go to the finishing process. But yeah, if you got a small part that you're carving, yeah, just throw some cardboard up or something to block that overspray.
Okay.
Is there a particular brand you like?
I just use shellac. I literally just get the spray can of shellac. It works great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I use sanding sealer. That's what I use to keep wood. Keep it from bleeding into my projects. That's what I use.
Yep.
So, but I like the shellac. That's quick and easy.
I'll put a link in the description of what he's talking about.
Okay.
So you can click on it. Amazon.
All right. So let's, we have Tim here. He says, question, can you run your 1.5 inch spoil board bit at 27.5 on a handheld router?
I probably would not.
27.5.
Not.
That's super fast for that size bit. I would not.
Yeah. 10,000 max.
10,000 max.
Yeah.
And no more than maybe a 0.05 to 07.
Yep. Yeah. You don't want a big bit like that spinning that fast.
Surfacing bits, when you're doing that small, you don't want to take off a lot when you don't have a lot of power behind the router. And because the reason we're saying you need to have that RPM down so low is because when you have like a 1/4 inch diameter bit, the radial velocity of the bit is near the RPM value, or the radial velocity, how fast it's spinning. But when you're using a surfacing bit, now you've got a much wider diameter, and that outer edge is just spinning so much faster than it's spinning inside. So that's going to cause a lot of friction, a lot of heat buildup. Don't do that. No surfacing bit runs at that speed ever, even the big chunky meaty ones.
That's like what I have, even with my 3/4 horse big Milwaukee router for my big table that I surface all my live edge and stuff on, and I run it 10,000 RPMs. So yeah, just be very careful. All right.
I do want to give one more tip about surfacing bits.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times when people surface, I'll see them, they'll use an offset cut. So the offset cut does that, starts in the middle and it basically spirals outward. Well, there's a pause during that right degree turn, and that pause is enough to get that bit idle for just a moment. And what that's going to do, just that quick, it's going to start burning the wood and heat up the bit. So whenever you're surfacing, you want to always, as much as you can, start off the edge of the material and come into the material from the side and run off the other edge before it changes direction. Do it in a raster cut.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really good advice, especially when you're doing it. So that's another really good thing you bring up when you're doing it in VECTRIC. Say you have a 10 by 10 square, make the boundary of your pocketing toolpath, make it like a 12 by 12. So then that way that bit has plenty of time to come down and really get into the material. Cause when you're starting it right at like the size of your 10 by 10, it's not, I mean, unless you're really setting a really serious ramp, you're not giving yourself a lot of room. Plus, I mean, think about it, 9 times out of 10, if you're trying to surface something, you don't want to go just right to the very edge of the boundary. You want to take the bit at least half of the width over the edge of the project. So you're going to need that extra boundary anyway.
I do the bit diameter plus a 1/4 inch.
Yes.
If I'm going to set up a tool path for surfacing.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. All right. So we have a VECTRIC question here. This I'm assuming Mr. Please excuse me if you're not had enough. Okay. If you purchase the VECTRIC 2D desktop or VCarve desktop software, is it still usable after the year and you just don't get new updates, or does it cancel out and you can't use it anymore? Do you want to take this or do you want me to?
No, we'll let Greg handle it. Do you know the answer?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you for me, I bought the VECTRIC VCarve Pro. I don't have to necessarily do updates. I can still run it like it is and with zero issues. So the 12 that's coming out, I'm not going to upgrade to the 12. I don't need it. So, but I will still be able to do mine at the 11.5, whatever we're at now, with zero issues.
Yeah. Basically, VECTRIC is an outright purchase. So it's like buying a car. You buy a car, you got it forever. As long as you want it, it won't quit on you. You just don't have the updates, just like you said.
Yep. You got it.
Now, one of the cool things is if you decide to upgrade to the VCarve from 2D, then you'll only pay the difference from the 2D to the VCarve, so long as you're in the same version.
Yes. Yep. All right. So here's a fun one. I love these questions. How do you finish the epoxy? I want to hear what you have to say, Greg.
So you got some choices. It is a complete personal preference on what look you are going for. So if I'm going for the more of the matte sheen to maybe satin type sheen or something like that, I'm going to just use my regular wood finish, whatever that may be. Ribio, bubble shoes, any of you name it, any of your wood finishes will work just fine. If you're wanting to do the absolute, the best sheen, clarity, you're looking at a flood coat of epoxy. So you can do a flood coat and you don't have to do any polishing at all. You can just do the flood coat, let it cure, and you're good to go. Now, if you're doing, say, let's just say a river table with a large epoxy area, you can absolutely sand that down and then come back, finish your wood however you want to finish the wood part of it, but then come back and actually polish the epoxy. You can actually polish the epoxy itself, and you can simply use no brand here, I don't care, turtle wax, it doesn't matter. Any kind of automotive compounds can be used on epoxy, and you can polish that up. If you do that, though, keep in mind when you're doing your regular finishes, you only need to go up to, say, 180, 220 grit when you're sanding. If you're going to do a true polish on the epoxy area you're doing, you're going to need to wet sand that after 600 and go all the way up to like 3,000 or 4,000 grit before you polish. So just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Which method would you say you prefer out of all your choices?
I do a little bit of both, or a little bit of all of that. I can't say that I necessarily do one more than the other, but I do like the flood coating. It's a little more work on the back end, but it does produce a wonderful finish if you have a good environment to pour the flood coat. You need a dust-free environment, some kind of tent or something to put over your project because, hey, Murphy, again, a gnat, any little thing, it's going to find the epoxy.
Yeah. Oh, my word. I did a final flood coat, and I had a tiny spectacle of a gnat in my clear, beautiful. I'd been working on this table. It was a maple bowl, and it had live resin, florals in it. And I had like carved the bowl, done everything. I had made oh my Lord. And the flood coat had one stinking gnat. I had to dig it out and then sand it all back down and then do another flood coat. I thought I was going to lose my mind.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So let me ask you a question about flood coats. I know this is a really popular question. What do you do to keep, I know this is a question I get a lot, so I'm gonna forward it to you. When you're doing your flood coat, how thick of a flood coat do you do? And what do you do to keep the flood coat from, like, let's say you flip it over and you're ready to grind off those, drips or whatever. Is there anything that you use on the bottom to prevent the drips? Do you use tape or stuff? I mean, tell me about once you flip it over to keep the epoxy from cracking on the sides.
So that's perfect. I've got a video coming out, I hope this week. Please tune in and watch that video because I actually go over a lot of this and you can see me doing it in that video. It is a big table, not a big table, but it is an epoxy table I'm doing with the flood coat. So first on your flood coat, you need to do, this is Greg's opinion. There's no laws that I'm aware of. You need to do 2 coats before you do your final flood coat. When you're sanding and everything, no matter how good you are, you're never going to get it completely level. It's just not going to be. You're going to have some dips. So I tell everybody, do 1 small flood coat at about 1 ounce per square foot of area. Let that cure, come back with 220 grit sandpaper, scuff it up. You're going to have high and low spots. That's fine. You're not looking for a completely whited out sand. Yeah. Come back, clean that off, do another coat at about 1 ounce per square foot. 220 again, sand that off, then come back with your final flood coat, which is going to be about 3 ounces per square foot. But what I do to prep for that before I start the first one is on the bottom side, I actually take tuck tape or whatever epoxy tape you're using, and I tape my edges. That way the drips that you're going to have that come over the edge, they accumulate on that tape. You can literally pull that tape. It needs to be a strong tape. Pull that tape off and your drips will pop off with it and you won't have any issues.
Well, good. Well, good. I like that. I've seen some people, they say on, like, if you're doing like a mold or something like that, you've popped it out of the silicone mold and you want to do a flood coat. I've seen some people use Elmer's glue, like on the back of it. Like, so then that way you can just peel that like Elmer's glue off. Like it's like a layer. And I was like, that is the wildest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't ever do that. I just use tape. It's super simple and super quick.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm glad you shared that.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure about the context of this question here, but Brooks, it says, how deep do you go?
Based on the timestamp, we're probably talking about cutting boards.
I think he was. I think I glanced and saw him asking something about my deep inlays, on how deep I go on my deep inlays. Okay. I'm sorry, Brooks, if this is the wrong answer, but I mentioned earlier, my deep inlays are typically about 8 millimeters. So 3/8 of an inch-ish, somewhere around there. So pretty deep.
Okay. All right. So we have our Mr. Famous Mark Lindsay here. He says, you enter your tapered ball nose bits into the tool database as an engraving bit, don't you?
No. I actually put them in as a V-bit.
Okay.
Interesting. How do you account for the ball diameter?
So I just type it in. I type in the angle. I don't even worry about the ball because when I'm doing epoxy or if I'm doing even a deep carve, I don't really care because that's just going to be
you're gonna have a gap
area.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter.
All right. I was just making
I got something new to play with.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, let's see here. So we have Lucky Duck Woodworking. What is your epoxy polishing project or process? So if you feel like we've already kind of covered that, we can move on.
Yeah, I think so. Just what I said a while ago, wet sand all the way up to 3,000 to 5,000 grit. And then, any kind of automotive polish will work.
Okay. Very good. All right. So this is from Chris. How do you deal with the bubbles in the epoxy? Most people use a torch. Makes problematic with wood.
So, key with wood, seal your wood before you do the pour. Anytime you're doing any kind of live edge, well, it doesn't have to be live edge. Any kind of carve you do, seal your wood before you do it, whether it be shellac, what I mentioned a while ago on those, or if you're doing a river table, just make sure you're going to seal your wood with something. You won't have to worry about bubbles coming out of the wood into the epoxy. Now, on the flip side, and I don't know if I told y'all this to begin. So I teach classes at Woodcraft in Chattanooga. I teach their epoxy classes here at my local Woodcraft. And one thing I'm always telling people is when you're mixing your epoxy, that is where you're going to have your problem. If you're using a deep pour epoxy, not a big deal. You can use a paddle mixer or whatever, and the epoxy takes long enough to cure. Those bubbles will come out and they'll off gas. If you're using a tabletop or art resin, you have to be really careful about how you mix that. You can't mix that with a paddle mixer. You've got to mix that like you're mixing your creamer into your coffee, and you don't want to spill it because it's right at the brim. It needs to be slow and methodical over multiple minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes that you're going to mix that so you don't introduce those bubbles. That epoxy is a lot thicker, takes a lot longer for those bubbles to rise up out of it. And what's going to happen, you're going to think you're popping all your bubbles, then your epoxy is going to cure and you're going to have little micro bubbles that looks like little clouds everywhere. And your project is ruined.
Yeah. Make sure, a good tip I use too is make sure you warm your epoxy before, so that the lower your viscosity of the epoxy. I mean, it just, when you warm it up, it's just different. Like I can almost pour my part B like I would my part A, because your part A is just so liquid, so fluid. It comes out and you're like, great. And then you go part B and it's like pouring out glue. Yep. So I like to warm it up, and I have not had any problems with the super clear. I've warmed it up numerous times and I've never had a problem with it bubbling. But I normally, if I'm like got, let's say like 8 ounces, I normally mix mine for 3 to 4 minutes, and then by itself with no pigments. I know a lot of people throw in pigments right when you first mix it. Don't do that. Mix it by itself, part A, part B by themselves, mix that 3 or 4 minutes. Then I will add my pigment. I'll mix that in for another couple minutes because you're still stirring. And then additionally, after that, I let my epoxy like rest for 5 minutes, because then that allows all of those bubbles to come to the top. And then you can take your heat gun or whatever, no torch, just take your heat gun, and I just pop all those little bubbles right at the top. And that has proved me time and time again to be successful.
Yeah. And I'll say one thing first.
Go right ahead.
I'm super technical on my warming process. I have a kitchen sink that has hot water. That's it. I simply put hot water in the kitchen sink and put your resin. You don't have to warm your hardener at all. Put your resin in there. Just get it warmed up. I'm a little different than Kate on the warming. Now, please understand, she is correct. Please be careful when you're using a heat gun. I use a torch, but I'm experienced at it. Be careful. You don't want to use your heat gun or torch the same way you use your heat gun, because you can absolutely burn your epoxy. So I do use a torch, but I do it really quick, 6 to 8 inches above your surface, and really, really quick passes with it. You just got to be really careful.
Yeah.
No,
and
not
I say
not a microwave, Julian.
Yes. I say that for the for the people who are doing like the small, like little 8-ounce mixing cups, and I could just see a torch and a melting cup and a whole situation. That's why I say just use your heat gun and just kind of do a hover, and just kind of kill the bubbles a little bit, because I can just see all of that happening and going down. Or there's those new torch lighters that I've seen a lot of people try and use, and then kind of what happens, unfortunately, is you don't really see the process happening, but you'll get flash curing too on that top layer, and then you're trying to mix it in, and it's going to be a mess before it even hits the project, and then you're just not happy.
I'll give you a little tip on mixing. This is specifically on 1-to-1 ratio epoxy, nothing else. So please don't take anything else away from this. Pour your B first, because your B will not stick to the sides of your container like the A will, your resin part. So that way, when you pour your resin in, you can actually get a better mix, and you don't have to scrape your sides nearly as much. Again, 1-to-1 only. Doesn't work on anything else.
Yes.
Is that all? That's what you work with, the 1-to-1 ratios. That
I work with both. 1-to-1 is your tabletop and your art resin. For me, Super Clear is 2-to-1 on my deeper pour epoxies.
Okay.
If you use Total Boat, you're going to look at some different ratios. Total Boat, some of theirs are 2-to-1, some of theirs are 3-to-1.
Yeah, we're getting some Total Boat in to work with that one. So what is the brand that you guys use?
Super Clear.
Super Clear. Okay. Well, so for those who are watching, if you are considering getting into epoxy, we're going to throw links in for you. So you got the Eye Candy Pigments and then the Epoxy, Super Clear Epoxy. They are affiliate links for Greg. So if you decide to get some, that'll give him some credit. And Kate is going to show you exactly what it is. There you go.
So
that's the tabletop I use.
Yep. So this is the part A that I was talking about, and this is your part B.
You can also get it off of Kate's website, and you can support her as well. So go to womenwhocnc.com, and she has links there too. So
real quick on the difference of the Super Clear epoxies. They make countertop. If anybody's interested in that, they do have countertop, but I don't do that. But so you got your 1-to-1 ratio on your art resin and your tabletop, which she just showed you was a tabletop. They do have an art resin. It's pretty much the same for the most part as the tabletop, except for it's a little thinner. It's a little more viscous, and it's a little thinner and can go into smaller areas a lot easier than the tabletop. Cure time is pretty much the same. So working time is pretty much the same, a little bit longer working time. Then they have 2 different deep pours that you need to be aware of. And it's funny because in my video I'm releasing, I actually completely screwed up, which that's great. I post my screw ups because that helps everybody else learn. But they have a deep pour 24, which is a deep pour epoxy, but cures within about 24 hours, which is awesome for smaller projects. It is only good up to 1 inch thick though. Their deep pour, or their liquid glass deep pour, is up to 4 inches thick, and it takes about 5 days. I leave mine for 7 days, for an entire week to cure. So,
yeah, it's I love Super Clear, man. It's great stuff. Now I will admit, we did a big table. We did a live epoxy pour, and I used Upstart epoxy, because that's what I had used for all my deep pours up until I had I had used the Super Clear, but I had used mostly the Upstart epoxy on my charcuterie boards, molds, things like that. But that up to 1 inch is really, really nice. I've used that a few different times. I have a couple big signs on my Instagram account that I really like, that 1 inch deep pour stuff. It's so nice because it cures, and you don't have to wait that 4 or 5 days when you want to do that next carving. So
I use it a lot on my charcuterie boards and stuff like that, because it within a day it's ready to work with.
Yep, exactly. Okay.
Right.
Well,
before we dive back into questions, what's one thing? So The Women Who CNC is a YouTube channel. IDC Woodcraft is a YouTube channel, and STL Woodworking is Greg's YouTube channel. Take a minute to subscribe to all of them. If you're not subscribed, it supports us. So there's a call to action. Give this a thumbs up wherever you're at, even if you're in Facebook or in YouTube. So
you got it. You got it. All right. So moving away from the epoxy, we have a Facebook user. Would you rather have a 4x4 ATC or a 4x8 regular CNC?
4x8 regular CNC. It doesn't take that long to change bits.
no, yeah, and size matters with CNC routers.
That's right. Yep. He's exactly right. I agree 1,000%. Yes. Yeah. Now, would I like to have a 5x10 ATC machine? Sure.
Oh,
sure. Yeah, but if I've got to choose between the two, I'm taking the bigger machine and I'm going to change my bits.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. All right. So Mr. Kevin is asking, Greg, when you do your pours, what depths do you decide when to use deep pour versus regular pour?
So I typically have one or the other. I'm either doing a smaller project, like a backfill of letters from a card or something like that, or a picture, or some type of inlay. Those are going to be non-deep pours. Those are going to be a 1/4 inch to maybe 0.35 of an inch. You can pour your tabletop up to 3.35. Don't let Super Clear hear that. But it'll work. Anything over that is typically my larger stuff, my tables, my end tables, my coffee tables, my dining tables. Those are going to be deep pours. They're going to be minimum inch and 3/4 to up to the one I just poured was about 2.5 inches, a little less than 2.5 inches deep. Again, I've poured Super Clear up to about 3.25 inches in one single pour with no issues. Now, let me say this disclaimer before anybody goes and tries that. If you're going to go above about 1 3/4, 2 inches on a single pour, you need to make sure you have two pieces of equipment. You need to have a heat gun, not a heat gun, I'm sorry, a temperature gun. You also need to have fans readily available. You need to pay attention at about roughly hour 12 to 16. You need to pay attention to your temperature on your epoxy. If it gets above about 130 degrees, you need to start turning some fans on. You need anything that deep, you need to have the ability to blow fans across it as it cures.
Yep. That is one thing that we did learn with Garrett's table, because that was the biggest table we had done. And I think probably one of the biggest mistakes that we did is I think I had the shop set at about 69 while we were shooting, and I bumped up the temperature to 70 because you're supposed to be right between 70 and like 75. And I thought, okay, deep pour, Garrett can attest. We had the fans, we had all the things. But if I could have redone it, I would have probably lowered the temperature in my shop because it is deep pour. It's not going to cure like instantly. And I probably would have put a fan directly under the table, just so then that way we could have had that cool air. And I've even seen here recently where people have like cooling blankets they will put underneath the table. I'm just like, there are some like things going on with these big tables, because when you're pouring that deep, that exothermic reaction is nuts.
Yep. Like, so I'll tell you, Black Forest Woodworks, they're a company in Canada. They actually have cooling tables they use when they do some of their pours. Yep. Also, BM Sculptures. He does a lot of epoxy sculptures. He's awesome. He's on YouTube too. No affiliate with him at all. Don't even know him personally. Just enjoy his content. He actually pushes the boundaries. He cures some of his stuff inside a freezer. I have
seen him
pouring up to 2 foot deep, thick. Yeah, it's craziness. But he's pouring it and curing it inside a freezer and doing sculptures. It's amazing. So I don't recommend you do that. But people are, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Those people have been at it for a while. So
yeah, great.
Yeah,
watch and learn very carefully.
He does some really cool work.
He does some really nice work.
Julianne, take a drink, everybody. Julianne, get that name. We need to get him on here.
Yeah, that's
BM Sculptures. Yep.
All right. So next up, we have a question from Mark. He says, what is the best instructional video or manual for beginner epoxy pour? Great show.
So there's a lot, man. I'd love to promote me all day long. I'm certainly not the best expert. I'm not the only expert out there. I do have some videos on my channel that are some beginner epoxy stuff, but just search YouTube, man. There are a ton of information out there you can get on beginner epoxy stuff, and a lot of them are great.
Yep. And I know a lot of our followers, regular followers, I'm actually in the process of writing an epoxy course. So it's an in-depth thing because you start getting in, like, kind of like how we're just sitting here talking. It's like you get into one little thing and then you're like, oh, rabbit hole. And then you got to pull yourself back out and kind of keep moving in rabbit hole. And, because
at the same time, at the same time, you keep your mindset in, you're talking to someone who doesn't know.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Need any help with it, Kate? Let me know. I'm available.
I will wholeheartedly take you up on that. I would love that because it's a lot. And as you can see, there are tons of questions about it. So it does make a difference.
Yeah. That's one thing that drives me crazy is I know y'all see it too, is people, again, I'm on a lot of different groups and I see people answering questions. Guys, one of the best things I can tell you is whenever you're looking for answers on any platform, be careful the answer you pay attention to, because I see a lot of people answering questions that absolutely answer the question completely 1000% incorrectly. Pay attention to the way they format their answer. You can usually tell who knows what they're talking about and who does not. So just anyway. Yeah, pay attention.
Yes, that's great. That's great advice, Greg. Yes.
So let's just rephrase what he said. Many people ask in social media, such as Facebook, how to do something like that, and you'll get a million different answers, and every answer is different. And they either come out. You can't explain enough in text answers to some of these things, and like you said, there are practices and principles that people who have been doing it for a long time, like Greg and Kate, right? These are the guys that be going to. You can tell just by the way they're talking, that they know what they're doing.
Yep.
So turn to these guys.
Yeah, it does make a difference. It's hard to get really good information. I'll say the same thing I say all the time is, if you find somebody that you really admire and you like their work and you like how they're doing it, search their channel, maybe reach out to them, look, because there's definitely content that I post on Instagram that I probably would never post on my YouTube because it's too long for a short and it's not long enough to be a video. So in a long format video. So, I mean, look like Greg. I mean, I can see all his little things. Well, that's the Eye Candy thing, but like he said, he's got TikTok and he's got Facebook and he's got YouTube and he's got Insta. And I mean, go look on all those things and see if you can find different ways to connect with them, maybe learn from them on different platforms, because that's why social media is different. You have reels, you have shorts, you have long format, you have all these different platforms to look on. So go explore those options. Don't limit yourself to just one platform.
Yeah. And I show a lot on my videos, just period, because I believe I want to help people. I truly do. I give a lot of information. But, I also have, like I said before, channel membership too. So some of my tiers are different. I'm not going to go through all of them now. You can see them on my YouTube. But some of my tiers actually connect you with me directly. I do Zoom calls and video calls and stuff like that if people really want to get down and dirty in the specifics of stuff too. So
yeah. I think it's great. I mean, a lot of people are really available. It's just a matter of kind of extending that olive branch a little bit, if you will.
Yep.
So, all right. So next question here. We've got a little CNC stuff going on here. What is the best approach for 3D fixtures? Like holding a guitar neck? Bondo is what I have been using. Anything better?
Not a Greg question. Greg doesn't do 3D.
Yeah. Kate's the most 3D person here.
I, David, I am going to encourage you to talk to Mark Lindsay about the guitar neck in particular, since you mentioned that. He is the guitar neck guru, if you will, when it comes to doing those on the CNC. So
that's it, Kate. Just throw Mark under the bus when he can't defend himself. Good job.
Sorry. Get a hold of Mark.
Yes. Get a hold of Mark. Yes. No, he really is good at the, at guitar necks especially, because he has done a lot of them. So that might be something that would help you. Maybe he could have, like, even here in the chat, you can do like an @ sign and then his name and tag him in the question. So I'm sorry, David. Hopefully he'll help you.
Yep, no, she's right.
All right. Let's see here. So Mr. Williams says, Greg, do you cut your inlays male and female on your boards and then put them together, or just cut the female and pour with epoxy, then surface?
Yes. Both. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a cutting board, so I assume everybody knows you can't put epoxy on a cutting board. It becomes a charcuterie board when you do that, because you really shouldn't be cutting into epoxy. So if I'm going to do a completely all wood inlay that is going to be a cutting board, then yeah, I'll cut my male and female separate wood, whatever the contrast may be, and then I glue that together. If I'm going to do a charcuterie board, any kind of serving board like that, any kind of sign, then yeah, I'll just cut my female and then I'll pour the epoxy into the female and then surface.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. What was there was something I was going to ask you about that. I can't remember. Maybe I'll have to circle back to it. I don't know. We'll have to circle back. Let's see. Brooks, which ceramic product do you use?
So, full disclosure, I always have to say that, because I don't want people thinking I'm just promoting a product because they are somebody that's affiliated with me and a channel supporter. Carbon Method is a channel supporter, but they have a tremendous ceramic product.
Okay.
So I will tell you also, Cam from Blacktail Studios makes a good one, and so does Black Forest. They make a good ceramic product as well. But the one I use is Carbon Methods.
Okay. I love Blacktail Studios. They have some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
The ceramic product. Help me understand. What is ceramic product?
It's ceramic coating for your tabletop. It gives you extra protection when you're doing. You can use it on anything. It doesn't have to be epoxy. You can use it on just any table, anything, and it just gives you an extra protection, a ceramic coating on top of it.
Okay, so it comes as a liquid, and then it sets, and then.
Yep, it typically comes in 2 parts. You'll have a hard coat that you'll put down in X amount of layers, however many you choose, and then you'll have a top coat that you'll put on top, X amount of layers, however many you choose. Okay. Usually at least 2 and 2 minimum.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. So up next is Raymond. Does IDC have V-bits for deep inlays?
So in the keeping with what Greg, the way he does it with taper ball nose, IDC Woodcraft has 20 degree, or well, that's full angle, 10 degree taper ball nose. And so those would be the bits based on how Greg does it. So there's your answer. I'll put a link, Julianne, put a link for the taper ball nose set that we have. And Greg uses Cody's bits, the Jenny bits, and you guys even have a set for that, right? Jenny,
we do. If I can say that, if you don't mind, I'll say that. We have a set that we came up with, me and Cody, that is my inlay set. It's specifically for me, that me and Cody talked about. It is a deep inlay set, and it includes 3 bits. You can go to his website, jennybits.com, and if you want to purchase that and use the code STL Woodworking, and you'll get 10% off. But yeah, it's specifically for that.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. That's awesome.
Yep.
We love Cody.
You both are going to show up in my video, just so you know, because I use both your bits in the video I've got coming out. So I shout out to both of you in that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're gonna have Cody on one of these times too. Cody's a great guy. He and I have talked many times. We've had several couple-hour conversations in the last couple of years. Such a good guy, and he was down there at WBC as well.
He was, yeah. He came down. I went out to Cody's shop and did a whole video. It's on my channel if you want to see that. Going over how to.
I'm so jealous. I want to watch his machine run.
Oh, you need to watch my video because I got some good footage of it running. It's awesome. So, yeah.
It's so cool.
So became good friends with Cody. So super good guy. Garrett's right. He's an amazing guy.
Julianne, plan a cross-country trip.
She's going, okay, as long as I'm going.
Arizona.
He's going to be going, Julianne, wait, hold on. She's not here. Hold on.
Yep.
All right. So Mr. Sam has a question. Have you ever used metallic powder in your epoxy and results?
When you say metallic powder, I don't know if you're meaning something different than, like our mica powder. You use mica powder all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know unless you do, Kate, if there's something else other than that is metallic. I don't use that. I use mica powder, which I guess is kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's more metallic-y mica pigments that have like maybe darker like chunks of a metallic flake. So maybe that's what they're referring to. I feel like when I want a darker color, so like for instance, I just did a project right over here. And I wanted a darker green because I only had kind of like a seafoam green. It was kind of like this color. And I was like, this looks blue in the screen, but it's kind of like a teal color. And I wanted it to be a really like deep green. So I added some like black and silver kind of pigments to it a little bit. And then it really, it deepened it up. So, I don't know if they're thinking the metallic might deepen your color. I don't know, but those are my results when I use mica color with metallic like flecks in it and stuff like that. So
yeah, I haven't used any really big flakes. Not as much, just mica powder and some glitter stuff. I don't know if that qualifies.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. They're like small, like little glitter, like little glitter. Let me grab it and I'll show you real quick. Hold on.
Yeah. And Jeff threw up a good explanation. Again, Jeff's the expert when it comes to pigments and such. So he just threw up a good explanation on that.
So spot on, the particle size of the mica makes it more metallic per se. The larger the micron size, the more metallic and bigger particle. Yeah. So like this is like still very, very, let me see. So it's like very small. I'm trying to like not dump it on my computer here, but like, I don't know if you can see like the reflection in it, but it's still very small, but it has that like, there we go. That's kind of scary. It kind of has that like metallic-y pigment look, if you will. So it really just depends on how much like you add in.
Do you have that on your website, Kate?
I think so. Yes, I believe so. It's under links and discounts is where I have all my stuff linked.
WomenInCNC.com.
Yeah. So like this, so like I said, that color, don't mind I'm not done with the project. So don't be too critical, but this is like a wrestling gift. And so I wanted this to be this, like, that's that colored green that I mixed in with the black. So I just did a little bit of a V-bit in here and, whatever else, but that's what I'm saying as far as adding in that like darker pigment when I didn't have what I needed. I was like, well, I don't have time to run to Woodcraft because it's 45 minutes from my house. So a little of this and a little of this, and we'll just do a little of this and looks good.
I'm trying to find a picture too. And when if I can get it, I'll if I can, I don't know how to do, I think I know how to do it. I can share it. When we're talking about different colors and mixing like that, I did a sign actually for Eye Candy for Jeff. He has it. And I'm going to tell you, that was one of the most difficult times I had. Is you can see their logo in the background, how many different colors and how many blends that is. I actually did a full solid epoxy sign for them. And I'm trying to find it now. And so I'll share it if I can find it.
You know, it's so funny that you say that. I have a sign right over my shoulder. I am doing the exact same thing with, because it's like an ombre look, and it is the wildest thing, because I have found myself using like some alcohol inks, and I'm using some, like, I even like mixed the epoxy and waited until it got to that peanut butter consistency. And then I used some like alcohol ink and like a little pen, and then like dragging it through, like trying to get, because it goes from like a dark pink to like a super like light, I don't know. And then it was English walnut. So I had to do a flood coat on the board before I could even carve. This project's been a pain in the rear.
So I've got it in email here. I'm not sure if this works, how this works, Garrett. Can I just share my screen? Is that?
Yeah. So at the bottom, there should be a present button.
Share screen. Okay, here we go. I'm not sure. I've got two screens, so I'm not sure which one it's going to show here. Let's see. Oh, this. Oh, found it. Look. Hey, look, I can do stuff. So is it showing it? There we go. So yeah, this is just a screenshot. This is actually the video of me doing it. But yeah, this is the sign I made for Eye Candy.
That's beautiful.
And it's 100% solid epoxy.
Really?
Yep.
Beautiful.
I poured the black layer first as the starting point, and then carved everything into that. And yeah,
wow.
It was very interesting.
Were you ready to pull your hair out when you were done?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
Nice work, though. Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. I remember now, it came back into my brain about epoxy. Is the other good thing about the super clear is it's food safe.
It is.
So like Greg was talking about putting it on a charcuterie board and then having the design and then being able to put food on it. Oh, well, there you go. I hadn't gotten down that far, but there it is. So not all epoxy is food safe. So please be aware of that. But the super clear definitely is food safe. The only thing, like Greg stated earlier, is please, like, if you're going to use, because I've done like some double-sided charcuterie boards where, you can round over both sides, epoxy for one side, like display, because a lot of women like to have their design or whatever. And then you can flip it over and then just do like a standard cutting board. So
yeah, just don't cut into it.
Don't cut into it.
Yeah, it's great. It's food safe, but don't cut, because I don't care what epoxy you're using. It's going to flake. It's going to cut. So you don't want to do that. So don't cut into it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So this is Dan. He's one of our regulars. He says, have any of you used Smooth On, and what do you think of them?
Not here.
I have no idea what that even is.
Nope. Gonna have to Google it.
I feel like there's going to be some things going on in the background that we're going to be looking at that. Okay, so we'll move on to a question here from our sister Jen. She says, question, in a garage where you need to have a heater / blower running to keep the temp up, how do you protect an epoxy project from dust and stuff in the air?
So I'll answer my part.
Sure.
My wife wants to kill me because I actually bought a net on Amazon that I actually have hanging from the ceiling. We have pretty high ceilings that I can lower down over top of a large epoxy project that actually keeps the dust and everything out of it. So it works pretty good.
I love it. I have done, what do you want to say? You can get like a paint tent, like they sell them at Lowe's or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like you can kind of face it away from it. But I'll be really honest. So when you're doing, like I showed you, like this is my epoxy table, and you can see I've got my side-by-side heater up here, and I do a lot of my epoxy stuff right here and over here in my My heater's right there. So here's the thing with epoxy. When you're doing like, not necessarily maybe a flood coat, but when you're doing epoxy, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do some type of sanding. So whatever can land in that little bitty top coat is going to be kind of a moot point at some point. Because even if you do have a little bit in that, you can go from maybe like 220 up, and then you can just kind of like sand that off and then use some higher grit sandpaper or some wet sanding, depending on what you're doing. Sheen it right back up. You don't have to worry about it too much. But tints are great. Like look on Facebook Marketplace for a little tint. Pop that sucker up. Get a little paint tint, something of that nature. Put a sheet over it. I've used big, like, like those moving totes. Like I've used my drill and I've kind of like poked like some micro holes so then that way the heat can still escape and things like that. But I've used a table and just put like one of them big old boxes over the top of it.
I don't use anything on stuff like she mentioned that I'm not going to flood coat. Flood coat's the only time I worry about cover.
Yeah.
I'm going to be sanding or surfacing. So if I'm doing a deep pour or anything like that, I don't worry about covering it because I don't care about those little things on top. I'm going to be I'm going to sand them off anyway.
Yeah. Mostly. All right. So let's see. So we have Jim B here. Question about feeds and speeds when carving. Should we treat it like plastic?
Treat it like wood. Treat epoxy like wood. You're not going to change your speeds and feeds any different than when you would a hardwood.
Yep. That is a great question. All right. So we have Corey Winter. Greg, how do you juggle full-time work, your CNC, epoxy, inlay, YouTube, full-time needs? Yes, please. $1 million question. Tell us, Greg, what you do.
Kate would like to know.
Hang on. Do you see this? The red. I get no rest. I'm always tired. That's pretty much how it works. It's really tough. It's really tough to balance. Luckily with my job, I set my own schedule. I do typically work Monday through Thursday and a half. I usually only work half a day on Friday, and I can pretty much take off anytime I need. So for me, I'm lucky and fortunate to have that type of job. It is difficult, but that is my plan, and my boss is fully aware that my plan is to stop working there. So, and he's 100% supportive of me, with the YouTube and creation and everything. But in the end, that's my plan.
Yeah. It is. Now, tell me, riddle me this, Joker. Are you married? Do you have children? Yep. Are you still keeping up with like house and honeydew lists and all the things too?
Yep.
Good.
All of the above.
Here's my answer to that question is when there's a will, you'll figure it out.
Yep. I'll figure it out.
And all three of us can attest to when you have that kind of drive, you're willing to make a lot of sacrifice. You come in with the attitude of, I'll get some sleep when I die. So let's just keep going.
Yes. I actually had that experience in Ohio with Dan that I was doing the one-on-ones where I took my one-on-ones on the road and traveled over there to Ohio. And he was like, it's 10 o'clock. Are you done? Are you tired? I was like, no, I love this stuff. I could stand out here all day. Like, I'm good. Like, he was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go get some dinner and like, I'll be back. And like, you can just like, all right, I'll be here. So I don't, it's when you love it and you have a passion for it and you have a drive for it, there's really nothing that can stop you.
Yeah.
I had a one-on-one today and we were talking about that a little bit and he's like, how are you? You're so busy. Like, how do you do anything? And I was like, that's a great question. I was like, I have the women who CNC, I have the website, I have the Facebook group, I have the one-on-ones that I do. I have the things from the one-on-ones that I have to do to help the people be successful. I have 4 children. One's gone, but three are here. And it's, sports nonstop. I mean, 9 times out of Not if you could see a fly on the wall behind the scenes for these Wednesday Night Lives, like y'all, I have soccer. My kid has soccer practice 40 minutes away, and I drive like a bat from you know where to get back here. And I'm usually in a rolly chair, and I'm like this. I'm here. I've arrived. Like it's a juggling act, y'all. But we all do it. So we should film me like flying in here 10 minutes till, and you're gonna, you all would die.
All right. Who else would sit here for 2 hours plus to hang with you guys, chew the fat? We got one more question and we do need to knock off. So it's
yes.
comment from Mark. That's not a question.
A statement. Good to finish it up. I've heard nothing good about smooth on alginate and silicone for molds. I hope I said that right.
Yeah. So I started to look at their website and I have to study a little bit more. They have a lot of different products. But
Yep. Cool.
All right. So we have come to the end of our evening. So those who are still hanging around, take a minute to jump over to Greg's channel, STL Woodworking, and subscribe. Watch a few of his videos. He's given you a lot of expert tips, and him and Kate have shared their expertise with the epoxy, which I am a newbie at. Not even newbie. I haven't even touched the stuff yet. So that's coming. Matter of fact, Julianne and Liberty, I think, are going to be heading that up and be shooting videos. So women who epoxy. How about that? Anyway, give a like to this video. Make sure you jump over to Women Who CNC, subscribe to that channel, subscribe to IDC Woodcraft. If you're not subscribed to his channels, it supports us. And make sure you check out the it was super clear, right? You can go to womenwhocnc.com. Kate's got affiliate links there. Greg has a link. We can also throw that back in here if you would, Julianne. And then Eye Candy Pigment. Jeff has been hanging here from Eye Candy, dialoguing with you guys. So it looks like I got another person I got to meet.
You do.
Yeah,
and
the same thing. Like, man, I need to talk to him.
Let me just say shout out to Jeff, because if he's still in Cambodia, I think it's probably like in the middle of the night over there, and he's actually on. He's coming back to the States, but I'm not sure exactly when. But if he's still in Cambodia, it's super late over there. So,
right.
Wow.
Jeff, make sure you reach out to Garrett at idcwoodcraft.com.
There it is. Yeah.
And,
I would love it.
And I'm going to pop out who's been hanging in the background this whole time, Julianne. And she is obviously busy doing something.
Yes, I'm throwing links in. All the links.
Okay. Awesome. Yep, he's still in Cambodia, so he's what time is it over there, Jeff? I know it's probably like 4 a.m., something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And Jeff, reach out to Kate too. womenwhocnc@gmail.com.
Yep, definitely. It would be nice to talk epoxy with you, and it's always nice to have another friend in your arsenal when you run into a problem.
All right.
So,
well, Greg, thank you for devoting some of the time that you don't have, losing more shut eye, growing, letting your eyes get redder and redder.
That's right. Thanks for having me on.
The stir sticks to problem open.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yes.
He should have some painter's tape over there, with the CA glue technique. He can use painter's tape.
Should. There you go.
Well, did you get a couple of those rolls of painter's tape and the double-sided tape at WBC?
I got the double-sided tape. Yep, sure did. Okay, and I've actually been using them. They're actually in my next video too. But yeah, they're actually they're pretty good.
Yeah, I've started using it too. We're going to be talking to him shortly.
Cool.
So. All right, very cool.
Fun
well.
Times.
Thank you again, Greg. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you all for joining us again for another lovely Wednesday night CNC hangout. And we will see you all next Wednesday.
Yep. Same CNC channel, same CNC time.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good night.
See y'all.